back to another episode of the Woods Collab podcast. From us, the Woods Collab, and this is
Nikisha Woods.
And I'm Mike Woods, and we are
the Woods Collab.
Thank you for that. How was that for a dramatic introduction as we try different things and intros and all that good stuff? So again, the Woods Collab, all about pushing professional development, personal development, all of that good stuff. So today, in the space of professional development, we are discussing how we can be irreplaceable. Say in your place of employment, your place of business, how we can be irreplaceable. And as we were preparing for it, we said, well, maybe we can't guarantee being irreplaceable.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Depending, maybe you decide to own a thing, if you will.
And some owners are irreplaceable, depending on how the structure is, yeah.
Exactly. So what we can control is how we can put ourselves in position to be irreplaceable. We believe that we know that these are some cool things that we could do to just set ourselves up for success, to maybe add that much more value, right?
Right.
All right, so what are some of those key things, those things that we can put in place to put ourselves in position to be irreplaceable?
Yes, so when I think about making myself more irreplaceable, every time I say that word, I think about the Beyonce song, Irreplaceable.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to sing it. But when I think about becoming irreplaceable in the workplace, I think about being the person that's able to identify problems and solve problems. And it may not always be identifying them, because maybe some people are very aware of what those problems are and they present the case and they say, well, this is the thing that we need solved. And then being the one that is brainstorming, collaborating, researching, and bringing forth solutions. And when I'm able to do that, then I'm getting closer to solving the problem. Even if I don't have the answer, I'm that catalyst that jumpstarts that solution, because I'm bringing forth this information and people are going to associate me with being someone to solve the problem. So if that problem is presented, then I'm going to do all those things. But if there are no problems being presented, there are problems that are there, right? There are things that are constantly tripping you up in your day to day. And instead of ignoring them and doing quick workarounds, if it's causing a problem for you, it's probably causing a problem for others. So proactively identifying those problems to solve them. What do you think?
I love it. I think that's a key one, because you think about it, you're adding value. That's on any front. If we have a something with a piece of furniture, and imagine if we had a guest that come over and said, hey, I noticed there's something going on with this chair you have out here. It's a weird analogy. And we're like, we know about it, but we just deal with it because we don't know how to fix it. Imagine that person was like, hey, did you know that you could kind of wire this or do this, that, and the other? And that person has solved the problem, provided some value to us.
Yeah.
So now when I think about being irreplaceable, I'm looking back and say, okay, this person right here, yeah, you added some value, so you put yourself in position to be irreplaceable.
I might want to keep you around a little bit longer. Right?
Yeah, seriously. And then, so that ties back to another piece about being resourceful. So being resourceful, knowing how can you be resourceful? It's basically like, it could be in communication. It could be with going to get answers. It could be a willingness to chip in and help out with the thing. Is that person, because you say, okay, if you're looking to see, all right, which or who is irreplaceable here, maybe that person that has some additional knowledge, skills, or insight, or that person that knows how to go out and get it, that can add that much more value.
Yeah, because no one is going to know everything, right? Because in that case, what would you need a team for? What you need employees for? What you need anybody else for? Because you do it all on your own. And so you're not going to know everything, but you need to be that type of person that can go out and get the information. And by putting yourself in positions where you're networking, where you're when you find out someone has a new skill or technique, that you're learning from them and you're making those connections, so that whenever there's a problem to solve, so again, tying back to that, then you remember that, oh, Joe Smith in this particular department, he knows how to handle this situation. I'll just reach out, right? And so opening up your knowledge as far as who do you have in your world, in your day-to-day, that allows you to be able to get to that end goal, which oftentimes is solving a problem.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different tools at hand that we can build up how resourceful we are. We talked about that in one of the prior podcasts about this podcast, other podcasts, books, YouTube videos, you name it. All this information all across the board that we could use to be that much more resourceful.
Yeah, which takes us to our next point as far as always improving, right? Like if you are the type of person that is comfortable and you're comfortable being comfortable, then when it's time for decisions to be made about who's going to stay and who's going to go, then that person that is doing the bare minimum of the requirement, who is not really looking to better themselves or their knowledge or their skill set around a particular thing, might not be the person you want to keep around, but that person is always looking for more as far as how can they grow and how they can get better. They're constantly asking for feedback. I know we mention feedback a lot, but it's really a secret ingredient to all things in the professional setting. And they're constantly looking for those things to improve, taking their performance even from great to greater. I think that helps people to say, okay, I know this person hasn't reached their fullest potential, but I want to be there when they reach their fullest potential, right? And so you know that as they get better, then they're going to make everyone better around them.
Yeah, that's important. That's something. It'll be cool too to find a way to measure that. As far as like, all right, this is where I am today. I want to get better. How do I measure how do I measure if I'm actually getting better?
Yeah.
But maybe that could come with doing some inventory. So if it comes with reading more books, all right, okay, for this month or this quarter, I read this amount of books. Or if it's looking at podcasts or looking at a video somewhere, say, okay, for this month, I researched the topic for an hour. This month, I researched the topic for a total of 3 hours. Yeah. And just finding those different ways to hold ourselves accountable to see if we're actually doing things to get better. And like you mentioned, the feedback, talking to different people. Hey, this is a skill set that I've been working on. Have you seen any difference here? No? Okay, cool. Maybe I should try again. Yes? What differences have you seen? But definitely improving goes a long way.
Yeah, and I think too, going back to reviewing information and reading information, we have to think about learning and developing ourselves. It's not just being a check the box, right? It's not, okay, I'm going to read this or watch this podcast. What are the takeawayable things I can do? What are the tangible things I can do? And then doing it, right? Like taking it to that whole next level of, okay, I'm going to try this thing for this amount of time. And it may yield great results, or it may be something that you put on the shelf for a different point in your life. But at the end of the day, even trying the things that you're learning is going to help you to be better.
Indeed. And another one is knowing your role.
Yeah.
So knowing your role, knowing what you are responsible for, know what comes with the territory of that role. Then you look at the two. You say, okay, which one is irreplaceable, or which one have put themselves in position to be irreplaceable? You say, this person understands a role. And it's not just saying, hey, I know what my job title is, but really understanding the potential, the impact, the responsibilities that come with knowing what your role requires.
Yeah, and a lot of times, I don't know about you, but I refer to that as like a subject matter expert, right? Or an expert doer, really becoming an expert in your craft and then tying it not just to what you do, but to the big picture, right? And so being big picture minded, and so having industry knowledge and really understanding not just how your role interacts with someone who sits next to you, but across to the next team, and then across to another team in a completely different department. And then as you are growing your knowledge in your role and how all these things connect, now you're able to think about, if I am in the accounting industry or the mortgage industry or the medical industry or health industry, how does what I do every single day connect to the health industry, right? And so now you're able to make decisions and propose ideas and suggestions that aren't necessarily specific to your role, although you have to understand that first as a subject matter expert, but you're able to bring these creative ideas that's impacting everyone at the organization, and you're using what's happening in your industry to drive those ideas.
Yeah, and it's also key in that space to listen, like you mentioned, and be aware of what's going on around, because the role piece, yeah, there's responsibilities that may be defined that comes with that, but depending on the organization or the structure of your team, it may come with some opportunity to explore some unknown territory.
Absolutely.
So you say, okay, my responsibilities are these 20 things, but it could have an opportunity to tap into an uncharted area that no one has ever faced before. So now you add that much more value because your role requires being creative or exploring or discovering certain things. And now you've discovered a potential area that can be where the business can sort of take advantage of it.
Yeah, and then what I'm hearing from you with that is you have to be curious, right? Like if someone is in a position where they are, again, going along with the status quo, not asking any questions, not being curious about how the things work together, then when you're deciding, okay, which person do we need to continue to reach our bottom line or to make things happen or to create new things and be innovative, then you're going to rely more on the person who is asking those questions that's driving that innovation versus someone who just more so goes with the flow and goes with the flow. Yeah. So I think all those things are really important. And like we said, we joked about it a little bit, like no one's truly irreplaceable in the workplace. But there are some things, like Mike said, that you can do so that you can be intentional about how you move, so that if any situation or organization had to make a decision on, are we going to keep person A or person B, then you put yourself in the best position possible. And so as we wrap up today, just a quick recap on what we talked about. Solving those problems, first thing, right? Being a person that identifies problems, or if problems are presented, you're solving them. Being resourceful, so making sure that you're building up your knowledge and your skill, but you know how to make the things connect and you get the right people in the right room for brainstorm and collaboration. And if you don't know everything, that's perfectly normal. You know the person who can make it happen. So being resourceful in that way. Always improving yourself, so making sure you're learning as much as possible. And how do you apply those things? How do you try those things so that you can get better? And finding ways, like Mike mentioned, to actually measure it. So you may need an accountability friend for that. And then next thing after that, we talked about knowing your role, being that subject matter expert, being big picture. And big picture can not only just be what you do every single day in the team next to you, in the department next to you, but the industry that you work within. So did I leave anything out on our recap?
You got it.
All right. So thank you for joining us today. This is the Woods Collab. Woods with an S Collab podcast. I'm Nikisha Woods, and this guy is
Mike Woods.
See you next time.